Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this postmortem of my Blitz game number 991. I was black. My opponent played e4 here, and I went with d5, the center counter or Scandinavian defense. He takes, play knight f6, and this is just, I'm trying to gather up the pawn in a more convenient fashion than taking it with the queen. It's kind of a sideline. You can see that queen takes d5 is really the main move, but I think it's an interesting way to play. He goes with d4, I take. And he plays c4 here. That's actually the second choice. I see knight f3 much more often, and that's the way I play it myself with white. So I wasn't totally sure about this position. The knight can go back either to f6 or to b6. And as I said during the live stream, I usually, the live video, I usually go back to f6. So I wanted to try something different because this is often recommended. But well, looking at it after the game with the chess engine, it seems those two moves are about equally rated. But the idea is, well, we'll get to it in a second. White usually plays knight f3 here, after which black would pin the knight. So white is playing cautiously by playing bishop e2. It looks like we're out of the opening book at the moment. And in fact, there is a good move here for black, but I just continued with the normal move g6. And after knight f3, we get back into a known line. But instead of g6, the chess engine pointed out e5 could be played here. Pretty interesting move. And the idea is if he takes, then I can trade queens. And if he wants to keep the ability to castle, he will take back with the bishop, and then I get the c-pawn. So it's actually about an equal position. It looks like this knight is in an odd spot, but it is hitting this pawn, which needs to be defended somehow, and black is one step ahead in development. I don't think it's any kind of advantage for black, but it seems to be an equalizing move. And if white doesn't take the pawn, then plays some other move, then black can take the pawn, and e takes d4 it'll reduce white's center. So that's a good result for black in either case. So e5 right in this position is a good move, and I suppose that's why knight f3 is the usual response in the opening book at this point, knight f3 to stop e5. But anyway, he went bishop e2. I ignored this possibility and just played g6, and after knight f3, we're back into the opening book where we play some normal moves. I go bishop g7, he castles. Yeah, we got back to 6 games here. I castle, and now he has a choice of h3. That would stop me from bringing my bishop out to g4, or knight c3, normal development. And I go knight c6, putting pressure on the center. And he pushed on with d5, so that is the standard way this position is played. Seems to be a good move. I was thinking this is okay for me. He can push on with c5 here, so I was wondering about that. But the way he played is fine as well. We'll come to another moment where c5 is a possibility. But right here, after bishop h6, I played bishop g7. You can see actually that line is in the opening book, as well as rook e8, and that's the other move I was considering. I was considering rook e8. Let's take a look at this. Then he might go queen d2, and then play e6 to start undermining the center. Once again, you want to do that before he has a chance to bring a rook to the center. So, and just leaving my bishop out where it's pretty active, and leaving his bishop here on h6. I don't like it when my opponent has his bishop on h6. Taking away squares from my king, and so I almost always try to trade it off. But in this case, playing rook e8 would have been a stronger move, keeping my active bishop. So my retreat, bishop g7, is actually a mistake, and he should just take it. He played queen d2, which is also a bit of a mistake. So the chess engine says, and the opening book too, he should take here, and then play queen d4 check. And I can either retreat my king or play f6. But the chess engine is already giving a +2 advantage to white in this position. It really likes all of the extra space that white has. So it's probably better for me to keep that dark squared bishop on. It's one of my trump cards in this position, and I gave it away too easily. Anyway, that's not how the game went. He didn't take the bishop, but he played queen d2. And at this point, we really are out of the opening book finally. So I played c6 here. The engine wants me to take the bishop, invite the queen over here, and then play e6, undermine this way. He can still bring a rook to the center, but anyway, that's an alternate way of playing it. It makes, I guess it helps my fight against the center to displace his queen a little bit. I think that's what's going on. I played c6 immediately, and let's see, he went rook to d1. Once again, the chess engine wants to take. Oh yeah, this is a place where c5 is a possibility. I was wondering about this c5 move during the game, so I just thought I would show you this. Was it here? Okay, I did that at the wrong spot. Sorry. Rook a d1. I play c takes d5 right here. He could take the bishop first and then play c5. This was his chance to play it. I didn't really think about him playing it in this particular position that I remember. But the point is, well, this pawn is here, so I can't move my knight to the d5 square. Well, he's got pretty good control of d file anyway. Let's erase that. If I move my knight here, he can actually just take it because there's a pin. My queen is under defended, and I will lose material on d8. So I have to retreat the knight to d7, and he can grab this pawn defending that pawn. So that's pretty good position for white. I think he's just pretty much a pawn up for nothing. But instead he played knight takes d5, so this keeps the game in the range of about even. And he took the bishop here. And then he played queen takes d5. Once again, chess engine likes this queen d4 idea. Say I drop my king back, and then bishop here is a nice way to put pressure on the knight. The knight is still pinned. He's got to gather that piece back at some point. And I can force him to take it with a pawn by defending like this. But it seems to be a good position for white. Anyway, he took with the queen, and then I should probably accept the queen trade. This seems to lead to a position which is about even. I take, he takes, he can take with either the rook or the pawn. If he takes with the rook, I get a nice developing move with my bishop. If he takes with the pawn, he has an isolated pawn he has to worry about. In either case, it seems to be about an equal position. So, you know, when you have black and you're playing against a strong player, sometimes an equal position is all you can get out of the opening. So I should have been satisfied with that. But I like to keep the queens on if I can't see an immediate advantage to trading. So I avoided the queen trade. And now there's this slight edge to white again. White has a good position here. Not necessarily winning, though, but typical opening advantage to white, you might say here. So he goes rook d2. I go bishop e6 now. And he plays queen e5 check. Sorry, can't go there. I would just trade, or that forces a trade. He went queen e5 check, so he's avoiding the trade too. I drop my king back, and then he plays rook f to d1, doubling on the d file. And here I blunder, and he didn't take advantage of it. So if you saw this in the game, you might have not noticed. But I played rook f d8 here. And so here's your chance to spot the blunder if you didn't see it during the game. What's the best move for white here? Okay, pause the video if you want some time to think about it. I'm going to give the answer away now. What you have to notice is that the queen and the rook are both needed to defend this rook because he's got two attackers. It needs two defenders. And the queen is defending along this diagonal. If you push this pawn forward, the queen is running short of squares. It can't go to c7. It'll just get taken. Can't go to a different place to defend the rook. There's no other place it can get to. So it has to drop back here, and then you can play b4. And that queen has no home on the diagonal, and yeah, white is just winning. So pretty simple tactic. It's funny that we both missed it. So anyway, instead of rook f d8, I should have played rook a to c8. That's a recommended move here. And the game continues. Like I said, it's still an advantage to white, but a playable position for black. So that's a blunder, and bishop f3, his move is a blunder too, because he should have, of course, just played that tactic, but otherwise bishop f3 is a good move. So I trade off a pair of rooks, and now I don't have to worry about that tactic anymore, and I bring my rook to c8, where I should have put it in the first place. And he goes b3, defending his c-pawn, and I play with f6. So f6 is a mistake. I could play queen b4 right away, and I spotted this idea on the next move. It actually works here. I'm just developing my queen with tempo, and well, it's not like this was a breakthrough or anything. This is just a position where I can continue to play, and I have some counterplay. I decided to kick his queen back first, but unfortunately his queen has a good spot on e4, and now he's got this annoying threat of grabbing a pawn here, and I didn't want to play something passive like rook to c7, but that was actually necessary. I had to play that, and instead I played queen b4. And before I played queen b4, I calculated the sequence where I go here threatening his rook. He takes my bishop, threatening my rook. I take his rook. He takes my rook with check. I step up, but I'm also threatening to mate him on the back rank. Yeah, even that doesn't work. I just wasn't noticing that his queen is taking all these pieces with check. It's a very common, I don't know if it's a common mistake in general, but it's a common miscalculation that I make. I neglect when I'm computing some line in my head like that, I notice the immediate things that I'm thinking about, which is the material here. I'm attacking pieces, he's attacking pieces, and I neglect the side effects, like he's also checking my king. So it's just all over here. And he has a number of different ways to win. He took his time at this point finding what he thought was the best way. He could have just... Oh, that's right, he can't take there because my queen... Yeah, I had that misconception in the game too. He can't take there. So rook d7. Probably an excellent way to continue. And he is just completely winning from this point forward. So let's just go through the rest of the game. I played on a little bit. There was maybe some faint hope of getting a perpetual check or something here, or catching some loose piece, but he doesn't have any loose pieces, so it's hard to do that. And eventually I just went for the queen trade. I thought I would look at this position a little bit, see if there was anything I could do in the end game here, but there wasn't. And so I resigned, and the chess engine verifies there was nothing I could do here. Anyway, it was an interesting game. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Bye.